Wow, the door damn heavy, so I said I big already. So are you ready?
No. Okay.
Okay. Hi, my name is Leonard and I lost my dad when I was 17.
I'm Cammy and I lost my grandmother when I was 16 years old.
Growing up, we were quite close, but then when I faced some personal struggles and issues, he was not really able to understand them as he was from a more older generation, so we kind of drifted apart.
I would like to think that we are close, but I think we can be closer. I say that because when she's around, I will visit her house once every 2 weeks. But when I'm there, I don't really interact much with her because she speaks dialect and I don't. So whenever we communicate, I'll need a translator, which will be my parents in between. So we wouldn't say much, honestly. But I like to think that we are close.
So at the point where he actually did pass away, he actually suffered from cardiac arrest in my house. My whole family was there, so I did get to see my dad in his last dying moments.
Okay, so when my grandma passed on that night, I was actually studying for my science test. And then suddenly the house phone rang. He picked up the phone. So the moment he put down the phone, he grabbed his belongings, he stood at the door and he told me that my grandmother is being hospitalized. And wait. So I immediately asked him, should I come over? Should I follow you to the hospital? But my dad was worried about my science test the following day. So he said, just wait until tomorrow. The next morning, my mom came to my bed and then she asked me, do you see your phone? Do you read the text? I said, no. What are you talking about? So I went to read the text and she wrote, she cannot be safe anymore. So that's when I knew that my grandma passed and I wasn't around with her.
Grief wasn't really the first thing that came to my mind because I was with my mom and my sister and they were grieving quite badly already. So I felt like I didn't really feel anything in the moment because like maybe I was in a state of shock or indifference, but I was not really able to cry or grieve for my dad's loss until like his casket got pushed into for cremation, which is when I think I shed my first tears.
Honestly, I don't even know what moving on is. I don't know what is considered moving on because I still think of my grandmother very regularly. And I think it's because like I've always felt really guilty about not being by her side when she passed on because I'm her only granddaughter. So I like to think that I'm a very treasured family member to her and I always felt bad that I wasn't there for her. So I think of her very often. For example, like when I'm having a home cooked meal, I'll think about the food she cooked during reunion dinner, which is actually the only time I get to eat her food.
So during the times when he was alive, I did not really cherish him the way that I should have but now that he's gone, I kind of learned all the little nuances which I may not know at the time of his little ways of showing love. They're like making sure if you have eaten well. So I've only learned to understand his kind of love after he was gone, which I kind of deeply regret until now.
I think what I want other people to know is to not take tomorrow for granted. Just like how my family did. Like they told me that tomorrow you can visit her. Tomorrow after school you'll get to see her again. But that's not the truth. I just hope that people don't make the same mistake as me because it really hurts when you realize that you know they love you and you weren't there for them at the last moments. And there's nothing you can do to change that.